Hello and welcome back to The Movies Made Us Do It. Me and Matt are back. How are you, Matt?
Oh, I'm pretty good, sir. How are you?
I'm very well. Looking forward to digging into Streets of Fire. A film I think I've only watched probably once before this.
Oh, really?
And a long time ago. I must admit, the first thing that struck me, I rewatched this yesterday, and the first thing that struck me is that it's not as musical as I remember.
Okay.
I think on the last episode, I was like, oh, this will be our second musical after The Wicker Man. And yeah, I was like, well, it kind of is. It's got musical segments, but it's nowhere near as musical as I remember. Like, my memory of it had way more songs in it. Not that this is devoid of songs. There are quite a few.
No. It's yeah. When you said the other week when you said it was about the music, I was thinking, oh, see, I remember it as the opposite. I remember it not having as many songs in it.
Yeah, well, you were right. You were totally right.
I've seen it quite a lot. I just remember the Steinman ones, really.
Yeah, I mean, it's really obviously Steinman as well.
Well.
Like, as soon as those Steinman songs start, you're like, oh, that's Steinman.
Yeah.
you can tell by his style immediately.
Yeah,
You're like, oh.
I mean, don't get me wrong, I fucking love Jim Steinman, and
Me
one
too.
of my favourite albums is Pandora's Box.
Oh, yeah.
Fucking love that album. But as soon as the Steinman song starts,
He's got a style, and you can...
yeah, you know it's a Steinman.
Like, insert Meatloaf or Bonnie Tyler singing this, and yeah.
Yeah, exactly. It's it's one of those things, isn't it?
But dude, if you're gonna get someone to write songs for a musical, like, you can't really go wrong with that. That's a pretty solid choice.
Total Eclipse of the Heart was originally written for a vampire musical.
Yeah,
if you listen to the lyrics to Total Eclipse of the Heart, it's about a vampire.
Yeah, well, so is I Would Do Anything for Love, right? I mean, like, the music video is literally Meatloaf as a vampire.
No, he's a
vampire.
No, he's the Beast.
Oh, is he the Beast? I always thought he was a vampire because it was like, I wouldn't turn you. I would do anything for love, but I won't turn you.
No, I think it's certainly in the video. I think he's supposed to be Beast.
Oh, who knows? He's just Meatloaf.
See, but
well, when did you see this movie for the first time?
So I think it was on Bravo.
Ah, okay. So I feel like maybe... So you didn't see it sort of when it was releasing or around that time?
It only been like a couple of years later, but I didn't see it when it was initially released.
I want to say, yeah, that's interesting, because I didn't watch this in the cinema because I think it came out before I was born. But I think I just saw this at a friend's house, Okay. I think it was one of those, like, rental deals, you know, where it's like, oh, my friend's going to come round and we're going to rent a movie and watch a film, and this was the film. And I really enjoyed it. It's funny how sometimes you see films and you're like, I really enjoyed that, but then you just don't go back to it or really think about it again. Because, like, as soon as you said this film, I was like, oh yeah, it's a great movie. I remember enjoying that, but it just hadn't really crossed my mind until recently. Although I will say, weirdly enough, just after last episode, you mentioned this, the next day I went into a charity shop and they've got, like, this amazing steelbook edition of it.
Oh, cool.
Really cool artwork on it. I'm really tempted to go and pick it up.
Totally would.
Yeah, it's really cool. I was like, wow, what are the odds? Oh, well, I guess, it's one of those coincidences. You see things because you're kind of it's in your mind's eye now. But yeah, kind of cool.
I think me and a friend watched it on Bravo. I think a couple of years after it was released. And I should point out that's British Bravo, not the American one, because I think the American Bravo is like sort of classy.
Oh no, our Bravo is not
British
classy.
Bravo was, like, for horror movies and, like, sleazy movies and
trash.
Trash stuff, which was great. I love Bravo. I've watched a lot of cult movies on Bravo.
Yes, I always even I was watching Bravo in the 90s, and I always remember it being lots of horror and cult and trashy stuff. It's great.
Sort of erotic movies and stuff like that.
Which is a teen,
Yeah, exactly.
It's good stuff.
And I think we sort of we kind of obsessed about this for a period about this movie, because one of our favourite bits is, at the beginning when Cody comes in with that gang and the knife bit.
Yeah.
which we'll go into.
It's
but
such a great moment.
We basically recreated that a number of times. That scene, just because it's such a great fucking scene.
Well, shall we get into the movie and get to that scene? So we open in Gotham City, and
yes.
It's nighttime. Richmond, sorry, the borough of Richmond, which it just looks like Gotham City. I don't know if it's the same sets or what. I mean, obviously, Batman's quite a few years out from here, but
again, for some reason, they decided that they didn't want to. It's basically Chicago.
Yes, I think there is some stuff out in actual Chicago.
Yeah, they did one or two outdoor shots.
Yeah.
Street shots in the actual Chicago. When they're traveling on the train.
Yes.
There's a specific bridge in Chicago that I was like, I know that bridge. That's in Chicago.
That's a real place. Yeah.
Yeah, and so they basically spent, I think, $1.5 million on making like this set in LA, and because of like most of the actors were like pretty young, I think they had to go by certain laws, so they couldn't film at night.
Sure.
So they built this like city. And then they put this fuck off great tarpaulin over it so that it was, they could do whatever they wanted there.
Sure.
And yeah, I mean, I think it's a fucking great set.
Well, it's great when you combine it. I mean, this is why I say it's Gotham City, because they open with this in another time, another place.
Yes.
And it's much like 1989's Batman. You've got Gotham City and here Richmond Borough. It's this 1950s never ended, so now we're in the 80s but it's still the 50s, and it's like this really weird mix, and I love the aesthetic of that mix, and I really loved it in Batman as well, where you've got a lot of that 50s influence mixed in with the 80s stuff.
The Batman one's more 30s, isn't it?
Or sorry, well, yeah, I guess it is more 30s in Batman. But here it's way more 50s.
It's really 50s, and except for like, I love it. There's sort of certainly later on when they're in the red light district.
Yeah,
there are all kinds of fashions in that road.
Yeah,
there are like 70s pimps, and like there's 80s people wandering around, and there's also it's brilliant. I mean, we'll get there, but when Ellen Aim turns up, she's definitely not 50s.
No, that's what I mean. It's mixed with 80s. It's mixed with all sorts. It's great. It's a great mix. And it kind of makes it timeless and makes it almost this fantasy piece to where you can be like, yeah, cool, whatever happens in this, because there's some pretty crazy things that happen in this film. You can kind of just let it go as like, well, it's just another reality where this kind of stuff happens, I guess,
it's owned with a rock and roll fable.
Yes, it is. Yeah, I have some serious questions about how the police force work as the film goes on, but for now,
the other thing about this movie is it's basically a Western.
It is. It's just, you get that really confusing bit when they shoot up all the police cars and then they go back to a police station in another borough and no one cares. And it's like, that never happened. And no one ever mentions that ever again, that this group of people just shot up all the police cars.
You find that in the States, though, don't you? They've got like borders where the certain couples, because
I feel like if you shot up a load of police cars in one state and went to another state, that would probably
don't they do a similar thing in like Porky's, because the Porky's itself is in a different
do you know, I honestly, there is so little of Porky's that I remember these days.
Oh really?
I would need to go back, and maybe we should do Porky's one day.
Oh god,
that could be fun.
It
could be fun. Like, I just as an interesting
it's been a long time since I've seen it, but
maybe.
I know in Porky's, because Porky in that state, basically, I think his brother might be the chief of police or something.
Right.
And they chase them out of, they basically leave at the end, and they go to their own state, and the cops in their state are waiting for them.
Right.
So they there's like a sort of border thing.
Uh-huh.
So you could kind of, I guess, say it's something like that.
Maybe.
But it's fucking weird.
It's weird, but it's because it's in that another time, another place thing. It's just, okay, it's a weird fantasy place.
And the two coppers in this part of town basically are just the sheriff and the deputy, aren't they, really?
They're very outnumbered, yes. And we do see them in these opening scenes. So It's gig night. There's a big concert going on, and pretty much everyone, including the police, are tempted to go there. They're all like, "Hey, there's this,"
They don't really go into it. All they say is that, well, Rick Moranis' character says it's a benefit, otherwise he wouldn't be in this shithole.
Yeah, so it's Ellie Aim, who is this young up and coming, although maybe has made it now. I guess she's returning home, star, right?
She's just made it. I think is the
homegirl done good, and has now come back for this benefit, put on by Rick Moranis, who I think is my favorite. Oh, he's like up there as my favorite character in this movie. He's superb. He's so good.
Amy Madigan's my favorite character.
Okay, she would be my first or second. They're vying for position there.
Always favorite, but see, the Rick Moranis is. I just want to punch him.
But what a range between the same year, Ghostbusters.
Yeah, Ghostbusters.
What a range! Those two roles couldn't have been more different. It's
absolutely.
really cool.
But I love that also the fucking amazing. It's actually one of my favorite openings.
It's awesome when you see everyone getting ready and
see everybody getting ready. And it like quickly cuts almost to the beat of the music.
Oh, it's filmed like a music video. It's great.
Yeah, it's completely like a music video. Yeah. And you see Cody's sister, at the diner,
she's doing her hair and stuff, isn't she? Yeah.
Yeah, and you get the crowds of moving down the streets and stuff, and it's all quick cuts, and you've got that sort of sweep that keeps happening with the titles and stuff, that like a train going by.
Yeah.
It's like a train going by on fire, basically.
Yes.
That is how you put it. And it's such a fucking amazing opening. And then when you get Diane Lane runs out on stage, and it's like, wow, that is fucking amazing. She just looks fantastic.
Yes.
And that's the point where you sort of go, because like you said, it starts off as like, it's in the 50s, and then she runs out.
And then the 80s arrive.
Yeah, she runs out looking like, the embodiment of new wave.
Yeah.
And it's like, oh, okay, so we're not quite in the 50s then. We're somewhere else.
Actually, you're right. That opening is almost entirely could be the 50s until you get to her coming on stage, and at that point you realize something's off, and you're like, oh, actually, no. Like, what is this? It's a mix of the two.
Yeah. But the music itself says,
Well, yeah, like we said, Jim Steinman is like.
Yeah, exactly.
Yeah.
You get that fucking amazing intro as well for Willem Dafoe's character.
Oh, dude, he's so good.
The bikes, and you see them sort of coming along, and then they arrive at the back of the auditorium, and they come in, and they're completely in shadow.
Yeah.
And he just walks forward, and you're just following him, and you don't. All you see is his outline, and then when the lights go up, and you just see his face, it's like, Jesus Christ, that dude's fucking mental.
I am a sucker for a good silhouette shot. I was saying one of my favorite shots is it's what is the name of the movie? It's the last, I think it might be the final Dirty Harry movie. I forget the name of it.
Deadpool?
No, not. Is it Deadpool? Yeah, it might be Deadpool. When he's on the dock at the end and he's just in pure silhouette with the gun.
Yeah.
Oh, such a good shot. Like, not the best movie, but some shots in that film, including that one, those iconic silhouette shots really get me every time. And with this, that entrance is, it's perfect.
Yeah, I mean,
it's perfect.
If we're talking silhouette shots, one we've already done would be the, basically the indie. Indie almost always has a great silhouette shot, and his initial entrance is fucking amazing.
Stunning.
So you get and you get that sort of effect with Willem Dafoe's character in this. It's just
and you're right, because then you see his face, and he's just got that mental look that only Willem Dafoe can do. Yeah, and it's just like, wow, you are terrifying. Like, if he'd walked in on his own, I would have walked away.
Yeah.
like let alone the rest of the gang. If that guy just walked in and approached me, I would have stepped to one side and been like, go right ahead, buddy.
And that song has stuck in my head ever since I rewatched it.
Yeah, I mean, the song is incredible. But anyway, they start pushing their way towards the stage. And pretty much like I love this complete chaos erupts. And I don't know if now does, because Bill jumps up and he gets punched in the face, right?
Yeah.
It's like trying to defend Ellie. I forget his character's name. What is his character's name in this?
Clyde.
Clyde. Now, does he lose the tooth here, or did he already lose the tooth before?
I don't know.
I assumed it was in this shot that he lost the tooth, but I don't know.
I'm not sure he's not actually lost, is it? It just looks broken.
Yeah, or broken, or whatever.
Yeah.
I wasn't sure if it was in this shot, because basically chaos erupts. They jump on stage, and they basically run rampage, start smashing stuff up, and start kidnapping Ellen. At which point, Clyde, did you say his name was?
Yeah.
Jumps up on stage and tries to stop them, and just gets immediately punched in the face for his trouble.
It's the most cartoony fight scene as well. Like, the punches are sort of so over the top. And get proper, which is weirdly completely contrast to the end fight, which is.
It's much more the end fight. I love. There's things I love about that end fight. I love the way the crowd is silent the whole time.
Yes.
You can see they're cheering and shouting, but you don't hear them. You only hear the two combatants. I think is really well shot there. Yeah. But Bill Paxton, who I think to this day might be the best person at acting as an asshole. Like, he's just such a prick. Like, he's so good at playing a prick.
But he's also good at being a sort of slightly pathetic twat. Because in this, he's not really a prick, he's just a pathetic twat.
Well, and at the end, he's the one that rounds everyone up.
Yeah, he is.
Like, he is the one that effectively probably saves everyone, because if he hadn't done that, it would have been, like, 3 guys, 2 cops and some mercenary against a biker gang.
Yeah, exactly. It makes the numbers
better. Actually, you're right, sorry, there are a few more cops behind them. You're right.
Yeah.
There are a couple. But anyway, they kidnap Ellen. And they run off with her. She does a really good job, actually, of just screaming and just being like,
screaming, "Help me, yeah.
Help me, no!" And everyone's just terrified of this biker gang, apart from Bill, who's been punched in the face.
Yeah. When they're basically, as they're leaving, they're tearing up the town.
Oh god, the streets are just like, it's like pandemonium out there.
They're like tearing the clothes off women and
just running rampant.
One poor dude who gets clipped by a bike and goes straight down, and I don't know whether that was
that stunt
man.
Fucking hell.
Whether it was just a dude that got clipped, because he fucks it down.
I'm glad you said that. I actually said fucking hell out loud when I saw that. I was like, what was that a mannequin? Was that a person? Because that looked awful.
He got fucking. I mean, if it was a stunt, it's a really good stunt. If not, it's a really good.
I hope they're okay.
I'm sure they are, but.
Yeah, that was rough. I'm glad you pointed that out, because I thought exactly the same when I saw that.
One of the weirdest things I find about this biker gang is they don't have that much sort of love for their bikes, because they just let them drive. They let them go and let them go through windows and things.
They just don't care.
And this movie is not kind to motorbikes. It fucks motorbikes.
It's not kind to many things, to be honest. One thing I will say about William Dafoe's character here. Is big of a creepy piece of shit as he is. It's kind of good that he likes Ellen and at least initially wants to win her over.
Yeah.
Because after she's been kidnapped, Reva writes a letter to Tom, which presumably takes a couple of days to arrive. Yeah. When Tom arrives, he's ends up drinking in a bar all night, and then the next day, so it's by the time they actually go to fucking rescue her, it's probably been the best part of a week. She's been kidnapped forever.
It looks like a telegram, doesn't it? She sends a telegram to him, I think.
Yeah, but you're still talking probably a couple of days.
But that's because he says he was in a war or something.
Yes, he's a mercenary now and was a soldier in a war.
Yeah.
Yeah.
So he's obviously come from somewhere. So yeah, she's definitely been kidnapped for a
couple of days at least. Yeah.
And
still wearing the same clothes, just tied up in.
Similar thing with what you said about the police. You think, well, they know where they are.
Yeah.
They're in their fucking bar.
Yeah.
So why haven't the police come to get her?
Yeah. Yeah, absolutely.
Again, it's that whole Western town
It
thing.
is, yeah. It's totally like you get the impression that certainly in this borough, in this fantasy world we're living in, this gang run the streets. Like the cops have got no power here, like none. Or certainly in Richmond they don't anyway.
Yeah.
It's or at least maybe the Richmond police are bought off. Sorry, the not Richmond, is it?
It's
the other borough.
Yeah, it's the second. It's
Shelbyville or whatever.
Yeah, Shelbyville.
They've bought the police off in Shelbyville.
Remember what the other place is called now?
Oh, it'll come up in these notes at some point. But yeah. So as you, sorry,
the battery,
right? So that's kind of like the lawless end, and no one goes there, even the cops.
That's one of the good things about this movie as well is you can, even though the initial place that you're in is like fucked and run down, when you get to the battery, that's just industrial. That's, factories and like industrial machinery and this bar in the middle of this place. I mean, the bar looks like it's a factory, doesn't it?
Yes.
So you do have that really cool, and the colours and everything are different as well.
I must admit, watching this, I was like, I really want us to cover the Warriors. There's so much of this movie that was like shot like, and I was like, oh, the bits on the train.
The sister's from the Warriors.
Yeah, exactly.
And we'll definitely do the Warriors. I think that's on the list anyway.
I'm sure it was. There were just certain shots in this movie, and like you said, having the Reva actress be the same actress and stuff, it's like, oh god, I really want us to cover the Warriors. So anyway, Reva writes the telegram to her brother Tom, and she's begging him to come home. She doesn't really say why. She's just like, I need you.
Yeah,
come home. And he's been recently released from the army. I'm assuming dishonorably discharged.
I don't know. It doesn't say.
It doesn't say.
I'm guessing not, because he doesn't seem to be sort of.
Well, he says, "I like shooting guns, but not following orders," or something like that at some point.
Yeah, that is true. Yeah.
But then who knows? I mean, who knows?
That is a bit sus, isn't it?
Yes, a little bit. But
I mean, if you're at a party and you're stood next to someone who goes, "Hey, I like shooting guns, but I don't like taking orders," you think, I need to be over there somewhere.
I need to. I'm going home. But yes, so he boards a train and heads back to Richmond, where he obviously grew up as well.
And he kind of looks, other than not having a cowboy hat, he's got like
he's got the duster and everything. Yeah,
he's got the sort of the browns and sort of faded colours of a sort of basically just a sort of outlaw drifter, isn't it? From a western.
Yeah, he is absolutely dressed in full western gear as much as he could get away with it, which is weird because you think the 50s he probably could have got away with a hat of some kind, kind of could have probably pulled it off, but I guess they didn't want to go completely.
No, I guess I suppose if 50s he probably would have had maybe a fedora or something. It might have
a fedora would have. A fedora's a bit smart, isn't it, for his character?
Yeah.
I guess that's probably why they didn't. It wouldn't have quite worked with him.
Messed his hair up.
It would have messed his perfect hair up. And Michael
Willem Dafoe's hair, but
Michael Parr in this he's got such a look, man. He
was already in sort of like, he'd been in, what was that bloody movie he was in before, which was like huge. Eddie and the Dreamers, Eddie and the Dreamers, was it? Which again, that's a bloody great movie as well. And he was similarly, he just had a really cool fucking style. And
Eddie and the Cruisers.
Eddie and the Cruisers, that's it.
Thanks,
yeah, he had that real cool sort of fucking thing about him that just apparently he did. Him and Rick Moranis did not get on.
Which kind of, again though, that works. That dynamic totally works for the film's favour.
Basically would come in and take the piss out of him. Basically,
really.
Yeah, he sort of like the first thing he did apparently was wander up to him and say, "So are you actually cool, or do you just play cool people?" And apparently he'd just rib him constantly.
See, I would have laughed if someone came up to me and said that. I would have been like, "That's brilliant."
But Barry was like, normally I would just punch him, but he said you can't do that on a set. He said in real life I would have punched him. He said, but on a set, plus the fact that I think he was friends with one of the producers.
Yeah, probably not going to go well.
Yeah, no, I couldn't do it. And he said I just wasn't equipped for the the hazing. Basically, he hated him.
Yeah. Oh well. Well, in any case, the next day, or I guess the next day, we'll assume the next day. Reva's working her diner. She looks over and she sees her brother Tom. He's sat there, and there's a brief smile. But then a gang immediately burst in. A lot of these gangs hanging around.
The lower gangs.
Yes, one of the lower gangs, and
just a small group.
Reva's like, "Oh, we've already had enough of you guys shit last night with the bigger gang. We don't need you here."
Yeah, she says, I can't remember what the line is. She says something along the lines of, we had the big boys.
Basically, we're tired of your shit. Go away.
Look like a bunch of shitheads coming in here. You look pathetic coming in here after they've been and fucked everything up.
Yeah, and the leader of this mob is like, well, maybe we'll just smash a bar up and take care of you. And it's like, wow, okay. And Tom stands up immediately and takes off his jacket and well, I'll let you take it from here because it's the iconic knife scene, and I gather you've got a story. So
yeah, he basically takes off his coat and he's got that cut off thing on, hasn't he? So he's like, you can see his guns, and he's basically he gets up and the other guy says, "Oh, what you want to start something," sort of thing, and he goes over and he takes out this butterfly knife, and he goes to stab him, and he just takes it off of him and slaps him.
Yep.
And then he goes, he
try again, doesn't he? He's like, try it again.
He flicks the knife around, like he can
closes
use
it. Yeah.
And then he goes, here, try it again. Gives it back to him, and then you just get this little montage of him taking the knife off of him and slapping him until he slaps him unconscious.
Yeah, he just, and you get the impression that this guy is dumb enough to not learn and to continue trying over and over again.
He just keeps doing it.
Yeah. It's like he's headbutting a wall over and over again. It's like, dude, stop.
Yeah. I don't understand. Why is it not working?
Yeah.
And you get obviously someone's gonna go through the window as soon as
course.
It's
a Western, right? Like you said.
Exactly. Someone's gonna go through the window, and he picks up the coat stand and takes one of them out, and it's a really cool fight. And again, weirdly, I think this fight is it's sort of weirdly graded as the movie goes on. The fights get better.
Yeah.
Because the initial one is weird and over the top and a bit.
You kind of feel like that's the tone they're going for.
Yeah.
But then, like you said, throughout the movie, it kind of gets a bit more.
And Walter Hill. Had previously directed. What's the movie?
Walter Hill, storied history and.
Oh, he's got so many fucking amazing movies. But he'd done this movie, this fight movie with oh Christ, this is so bad. I'm so terrible at my job.
He did 48 Hours.
Yes, that was so the 48 Hours. They wrote this movie while they were working on that.
He obviously also directed The Warriors.
Yes, yeah. So you got, but it was a fight movie with
I'm just looking through movies now, trying to.
What's the
Southern Comfort?
No, Southern Comfort is a fucking depressing movie.
It is, yeah.
Really
Hard Times?
No. Is it
No,
just
I don't know.
Fighter?
It may be. I can't see it listed here, but
Charles Bronson.
Oh, okay. That's called Hard Times. It's probably called something else over here, I guess.
Okay, so he made this, and apparently the fights in that are fucking amazing. I've never seen it.
Yeah, I was going to say, I don't think I've seen it.
No, I've not seen that one, but the fights apparently are really good. So
he knows how to direct a fight.
Yeah, he had a reputation apparently for having really good fight scenes, and I think the from what I remember of the Warriors, the fight scenes in that are pretty bloody good.
They're very grounded and very real. I think the difference is that from what I understand, Walter Hill basically wanted to make a comic book movie.
Yeah. I love it when he says
no blood, no, he's like, he basically said he wanted to make a comic book movie, but he hated all comic book characters, so he's like, I'm going to make my own. And he succeeded, so,
He said he basically wanted to make a movie that, with all the things that he found cool when he was a teenager. So leather jackets, motorbikes, cool cars.
The 50s, right?
Questions of honor. Yeah, exactly. And I think that's one of the other things as well about that whole 50s aesthetic that this movie has, is because it's like the early 80s, sort of late 70s sort of period. There was a lot of movies that were made around then that were harking back to the 50s.
Yeah.
Because that was what all those, American Graffiti and, even movies directly like Rumblefish and that sort of, they all have that sort of feel of the sort of the 50s.
Yeah.
That were going on. So, and I mean, even to a certain extent, Grease would be the next thing to this, I guess, because it's a 50s set musical.
Absolutely.
Only, with no massive fight scenes in it.
No. But anyway, the gang run away, and so Tom's like, guess I'll steal your car.
Yeah.
Because it is a beautiful car.
He literally runs them off, and the car gets... And the car is one of only two other things that are clean in this movie.
I hadn't considered that, but you're right, it is oddly clean.
The car is this bright red...
It's gorgeous. It's a gorgeous car.
Yeah, I can't remember what it is now, but it's bright red, and it's really fucking clean. The only other clean things in this movie are the guns when he gets them.
Sure, yeah.
They're like the shiniest revolver, lever action and shotgun, pump action shotgun you've ever seen.
Reva's, obviously happy to see her brother. Never mind the fact he just smashed her front window. It's probably
I know. Well, she does, when he says, "Oh, do you like my new car?" She says to him, "Sure, you can sell it and buy me a new window." But basically, she explains to Tom, like, Ellen's been kidnapped by the bombers, and he's basically kind of, she's like, your ex. I know she's your ex, but she's been kidnapped by bikers. Right? Who knows what is happening to her? And he's just like, I'm really pissed off that she's dating this manager. And it's like, dude, she's been kidnapped by bikers. Yeah, well, he's actually quite an immature character.
No, he is. He's very immature. Yeah.
And Reva.
It's one of the things I like, because he does have a good, reasonable character arc to where he becomes more adult by the end of the movie, and he does kind of, he takes up the responsibility, and he like when he gives the money back, he never would have done that at the start of the movie.
No.
So we do watch him on this journey. It's fun, and here he is he's very self-centered and childish.
Yeah. And Reva is very big sistery to him. She's. She sort of she admonishes
you feel
him,
like she's been dealing with him.
Sort of, puts her arm around him, type thing. So she's a really good big sister character.
Yeah, and you get the feeling that she's been dealing with this shit her whole life, looking after him, and maybe he went to the army to get straightened out or something, and even that's not really worked.
Yeah.
So, or maybe he was drafted. I mean, who knows? I guess.
Well, they don't. I mean, they don't. All they say is there was a war.
There was a war somewhere.
That's all they say. I mean, if it was the 50s, you'd go, yeah, well, obviously it was the Second World War, but...
Yeah, I mean, I'm guessing it's effectively Vietnam if Vietnam happened in the 40s instead of World War II, I guess. It's kind of the impression you get is a Vietnam kind of thing.
Well, I think that's it as well, is you also get the fact that, some of the technology in this as well.
It's a weird blend, yeah.
So when they go into a bar at one point, there's a video jukebox playing Ellen's music. So you do get these sort of little bits of tech that are just sort of...
It's odd, but...
not 50, very not 50s.
Very not 50s, yeah. But it works. it works really well.
Yeah, I think so.
Anyway,
They go for a ride.
Yeah, they go for this ride, and... almost immediately he starts speeding, and she's like, "What are you doing?" And he's like, "Well, what's the point in stealing a car if you're not gonna drive it like a maniac? That's half the fun." Immediately get pulled over by the cops.
Yeah.
And this is where we learn that obviously Tom had quite a checkered past in Richmond. The cop immediately knows who he is. And
you get the your typical deputy who obviously wants to make a name for himself, and he's a bit sort of like cocky and stuff. It's like, oh kid, you're not gonna get one over on this dude.
No, this guy, I've been dealing with this guy my whole career. Like, just let it go. It's not worth it. And of course, Reva does tell the cops, she's like, the fucking girl was literally kidnapped last night. Like, do you want to go deal with that rather than stopping people for speeding a bit? But he says, I know who that kid is. That's Tom. He's a real troublemaker. I caught him in possession of a firearm once, I think was what he says. Something like that.
Yeah.
But anyway, after that, they have this argument where Ellen's like, you should rescue her, and he's like, oh, I can't believe she's dating her manager, and he's an asshole and whatever. And anyway, he stomps off and heads off to the bar.
She says he's got the spare room and stuff.
Yeah. He heads to the bar where Bill Paxton's being an asshole to to this lady at the bar.
Yeah. Amy Madigan. Again,
she's bloody brilliant in this film,
and she's just one of those she's one of those actresses that you don't sort of immediately think of, but whenever you see her, you're like, oh, well, this Amy Madigan, she's going to be fucking brilliant. She's been in such really fucking great things. One of my favorite role, I've got two favorite roles for her actually. One, obviously, Janice from Uncle Buck.
Yeah.
And two, did you ever watch Carnival?
No, I didn't.
Only had 2 seasons of it, and she played Clancy Brown's sister.
Right.
Clancy Brown is this preacher who sort of basically becomes evil, and she's his sort of sister, and they have this like really weird relationship. She's fucking amazing. Or everybody actually in Carnival. Even though it was only 2 seasons, I highly recommend it. It's fucking brilliant. It was such a great series that just got killed, too early. But she's fucking amazing in that. And again, Amy Madigan, there's weirdly a lot of the sort of the female actresses in this all had like weird things before this, and they were in like bands or stuff. So Amy Madigan was in a band called, I think, was it Jelly? I think she was in a band. She was on Playboy. Diane Lane was in a movie that I'd never heard of until I was looking up for the stuff for the movie. She was in a movie called Ladies and Gentlemen, the Fabulous Stains, which is a punk movie that I just didn't know about, which is crazy because it's got like members of the Clash and the Sex Pistols in it, and it's got Christ, no, I hate this. I'm going to do it again. Ray Winston's in it, and it was made, I think, 2 years before this.
Yeah, we were saying before the show, neither of us had heard of this movie, but it sounds really fun.
Apparently it's got a massive cult following, and it was shown on late night TV all the time, apparently in America.
Just weird because it's the kind of thing you'd think at least either of us would have come across before. Yeah. It sounds like it's totally our wheelhouse. So weird.
Yeah, I'm gonna have to. I'm definitely gonna watch it. But yeah, so you've got a lot of sort of people, and later on, what's her character called? Baby Doll. When Baby Doll turns up, played by Elizabeth Daly, who was the voice of Tommy Pickles, most famously. But she was in, she was a singer and stuff, and she said she was always disappointed in it because she always wanted to be the Ella Main character, but I think mainly because she's like tiny and cute sounding, she always got to be the sort of friend.
Sure.
She got exactly the character that she's playing in this, basically.
A bit typecast.
Yeah. But so there's a lot of sort of musical pedigree in this movie. I mean, even and you've got Lee Ving as well, who's Willem Dafoe's second. He was the lead singer of Fear. So there's a lot of like really cool musical stuff in this movie.
Yeah.
Also,
Yes.
McCoy, as
Mm-hmm.
we're going to introduce her. She was originally going to be a male character. They were thinking of Edward James Elmos playing it, and Madigan went for was up for the role of the sister, and she said, "Well, that's this McCoy is the better role. Can I have that?" And he's like, "Well, it's a bloke," and she's like, "So," and they were okay.
She
So
100% pulls off this role.
yeah, she does.
She's believably tough.
Mm-hmm.
I believe she can kick most of the guys' asses in this movie,
Despite
like
the fact that
for
she's
sure.
tiny.
Yeah, but she's got the look, she's got the attitude. Like she nails this, in my
She's
opinion.
smoking that cigar, and she's she just looks.
She's badass.
I think she's a believable badass. I think the original name was Mendez. I think it was going to be, and they thought about Edward James Elmos, which I think that kind of would have been cool as well.
Yeah.
But McCoy is my favourite character, so it's
mine. I like I said, she is like either my favorite or second favorite.
Yeah,
there's not much in it. So someone that doesn't believe in McCoy is fucking Bill Paxton.
Yeah,
who is a real asshole to her in this scene.
Like, you haven't paid your tab. And she's like, "Can I get a drink?" Yeah, it's like he gives a drink to Cody, and he talks to Cody because it was clear that him and Cody used to go hang around in school together.
Yeah, because he's like, "Oh, I tried saving your ex last night. I got punched in the face for it, but you know."
Yeah. And she's like, "Oh, can I get a drink as well?" And he's like, "No." He's like, "You've already been running up a tab, and I don't think you can pay for it," sort of thing.
And she immediately pays for it.
Yeah, and he's like, "Can I have one now?" He's like, "No." So she
doesn't he then say like, "Oh, I don't like your attitude or something, or I don't like your face, so no." It's like, wow.
He decks him. It's like,
and rightly so.
You total poor bastard.
But yeah, you're right. Bill Paxton's character, you definitely get the impression that him and Tom go way back, because he even says like, "Oh, you know, if you'd been there, we could have taken him out. It would have been like the old days." So you kind of get the impression that Tom and him used to hang out, get in all kinds of trouble. Now, Bill Paxton's character straightened up a bit, got a career. He's got this job running a bar, whereas Tom's still off the rails. And you know. Tom was the guy that your parents said, "Don't hang out with that guy." I don't like that friend of yours. You shouldn't hang out with him.
Absolutely.
That's Tom.
Nothing good will ever come of that boy.
Yes, no good will ever come of that boy. And that's the sentiments of this entire community, pretty much.
Yeah.
As you said, it's that Western thing, right? He's the outsider coming into town. No one trusts him. No one likes him. You know, he's going to do good.
No, but I think again, but it's just like the Western. It's that sort of thing. It's the the high new thing of we don't really want him, but he's the guy we need.
Yes, yeah, absolutely.
He's the guy that's actually gonna. And
even down to the end of this movie, he rides off into the sunset. You know, he comes in, deals with the problem, leaves. Anyway, McCoy makes her acquaintance. She basically punches Bill Paxton in the face, jumps over the bar, and is like, "Hey, what are you drinking?" Tom's like, "Oh, I'm a tequila man." She's like, "Okay, bottle of tequila." And they leave together after a shot.
Yeah, she says that she's a soldier.
She tells him she's a soldier, and
she worked in the motor pool, and she basically says, if it's got an engine, I can fix it and drive it, basically.
Yeah, and he goes to leave, and she's like, "Wait, is that your car?" And he's like, "Yeah, I got it today." It's like, yeah, you stole it today. And yeah, she basically says, "Look, I'm in town. I haven't got anywhere to stay. Have you got a spare bed?" And he kind of like, he's like, "I'm not into that. I'm not into that kind of thing right now." And she's like, "I am not interested in you at all.
Yeah,
I just need somewhere
really
to stay, dude." Yeah, she's like, "You're really not my type. I just want somewhere to stay." And he says, "Well, I'm using the spare bed, but we have got a sofa. You can have the sofa." So she basically goes back with him. And I love the scene when he comes into the living room where she is, and she's like loading a gun, and he's like, "Do you always have a gun with you?" And she's like, "Yeah, never know when I might need it." And then she immediately puts it under her pillow, because he's like, "Hey, you won't need that here." She's like, "Yeah, sure, but just in case."
She says, "Don't pointing it at me," or something, and she says,
"Don't point it at me, I might take it personal."
Yeah, he says, I only point it out at someone if I'm going to use it.
Yeah, yeah. And then immediately puts it under a pillow. So again, a very quick, concise introduction that tells you everything you need to know.
Yeah.
Anyway, Tom looks at some old pictures of Ellen when they were dating, and he's kind of thinking positive thoughts about her, but then almost as quickly as he thinks them, you can kind of see he thinks, "Oh no, actually, no, yeah. I will not be sentimental. I refuse." But anyway, the next day, Tom finds guns, doesn't he? He gets guns.
Yeah, and, he goes gets some guns. The guy says that he won them in a poker game, doesn't he?
Yes, yeah, of course.
And again, like I said earlier on, they're like the shiniest looking weapons.
They are. Yeah, I hadn't thought about that or the car until you said it, but you're absolutely right. Anyway, Tom with guns now heads to the diner and meets with Billy Fish.
Yeah.
And
I've always found funny because every time someone says Billy Fish, it just makes me think of Billy the Fish from Viz.
Yes. Yeah.
Which is really bad, but it's as soon as I Billy. But the weird thing is if from what I gather is actually it's the name. They take it from the name of the translator in for fuck's sake, my brain today is completely failing.
It's Friday.
The Man Who Would Be King.
Oh, okay.
It's Billy Fish was the name of the translator in The Man Who Would Be King, which is a movie that we will be doing relatively soon.
Oh. Matt's in charge of the list, not me. So I like to just find out. It's fun. It's more fun for me to ask when we do a show and find out live. So Billy basically is kind of the rival of the movie. He's well-to-do snob promoter who basically, like you said, he only did the and he is complaining heavily throughout the entire movie. He only did this benefit, for charity, and he's real pissed off he even had to come to the town.
Yeah.
He thinks he's above everyone. And almost immediately you can tell there's tension between Tom and Billy.
Yeah. And he doesn't at this point as well. Billy doesn't even know that they're exes.
No, he has no idea.
He just
thinks he's a mercenary for hire
because he's beneath him.
Yeah, he just thinks he's a mercenary for hire and doesn't care beyond that. Billy basically says, I want 10 grand to rescue her.
Yeah.
And Billy's okay with that. Mm-hmm. But he's like, well, cool. You're coming with me though, because I need to find a way.
It's just one dude though.
Well, he is apprehensive until McCoy comes along and he's like, "Oh no, not a skirt. No, I can't have more. You can't have more if they're women."
Yeah, I'm not paying for her as well.
Yeah. But of course he says, "Well, no, Billy, you're coming with me because you know the way." And Billy's like, "What? No, I'm not coming with you." And he's like, "Well, do you want her back or not? Because I don't know where I'm going. So you have to come. This is the only way this is going to work."
Which is, it's really weird. That doesn't really make sense. It's a case of, well, you lived here. It's only the next sort of town. Surely you know.
Someone could point on a map where it is.
Exactly. Surely you know where it is.
Whether it's the 1950s or the 1980s, maps exist. It's fine. But anyway, whatever.
I think he just wants to keep him sort of around and there, doesn't he? I think.
For the sake of the plot.
Yeah.
Billy Fish is coming. So they head towards the I think they head towards the car, don't they? Which is when McCoy asks, or does she come into the bar? I remember.
I know they. I know it's that she says she wants to join it.
I think it might be at the car where she's
it's when they're at the car because he's saying he keeps calling her skirt and stuff.
Yeah, because Billy's like, "Oh, I don't know. I work alone. Standard.
Yeah.
Where Billy is, Billy Fish is full on sexist and offensive, and he's like, "Oh, this skirt, can't be taking a skirt with us," which again is very 50s terminology, and he basically says, "Well, I'll give you 10%."
In the same way, though,
yeah,
one of the things that like puts it out of the 50s time is when she says she's a soldier.
Yeah.
Cody never questions it.
No.
He's just like, he says, where were you sort of stationed?
But do you not feel like Cody's a 1980s character?
Yeah,
and Billy's a 1950s character.
Yeah, that's probably true.
Like in the same way that Ellen is 80s.
Yeah,
it's like a weird mix of the lot of them, right? It's a strange mixing of time periods and characters. They're all kind of out of time. But yeah, he basically says to McCoy, he's like, well, I'll pay you 10%. And of course, Billy's immediately like, I'm not paying you more. And he's like, no, I'll pay her out of my money. It's fine. She's coming with me. But he says, look, if you're coming, I'm paying you 10% and I'm in charge. You do what I say. You follow my orders, and that's that. But so McCoy basically says that's fine, but I'm the car nerd, so I'm driving basically. Yeah. And she's the one. She said previously, I can fix anything, right? She's like, I'm good with cars. So they drive off. Meanwhile, Billy continues to be an asshole the whole way, pretty much the whole way there.
Do we get this? I think we get the scene where Willem Dafoe goes in. We see the pub.
Is this when he goes into Ellen and tries to convince her to? I don't really know what he's trying to convince her of at that point. But
he said he sort of goes in when he's
kidnapped her and tied her to a bed, but apparently wants to win her over now somehow. And it's like, I don't think this is a good strategy, dude. Like,
he basically says something along the lines of, hey, you make it easy on yourself. We'll fall in love. We'll be together for a couple of days, and then you can go away and you'll be fine. And
we'll fall in love for a while.
Okay.
Okay.
Sure.
Yeah, it sounds like the worst idea ever. Also, you're literally called Raven.
And he's called Raven. And when he comes in, when we see him the second time, he's wearing those waders.
Yeah.
And my initial thought was always, oh my god, he looks fucking ridiculous. But then as he moves around and walks around, you think, weirdly, it works for him.
Yeah,
it kind of looks almost sort of scary in a weird way. It's like
he just looks unhinged. Yeah,
it
just looks like a bizarre choice.
Fucking weird.
Yeah. But yes.
And I love I'm not sure if you see it. I think you do see it. Because you've got another band playing. Which I forget the name of that band.
Played the longest song in history in a minute. It goes on for fucking 30 minutes while everything's happening. They play one, and then when they get to the bar, they play another one. The one when they're there, that song just lasts. It just keeps going.
That's a real sort of rockabilly sort of song as
yes.
well.
Yeah.
And the girl on the bar who's fucking gorgeous. She's dancing around in that body stocking and a sort of shirt. She was the double for Flashdance.
Oh, really?
Yeah. She was a dancer, and she was a double in Flashdance, which is like really cool. I mean, she's just basically there for eye candy. She's just there to dance on the bar, isn't she?
Yeah. The Battery is the name of the venue.
Yeah. No, Torchies is the name of the venue.
Oh no, sorry.
Battery's the place. Torchies is the
Battery is the area, is it?
Yeah.
Yes. So the Battery is the area where the police don't go. Is the other borough, I guess.
And the Torchies apparently is a running theme with I think it's Walter Hill. Torchies has appeared in several of his movies. Apparently.
Oh, okay. Fair enough. Maybe it was a bar or a club he frequented in his youth.
Yeah, that would be my guess.
So anyway, Ellen refuses his advances, and I guess lucky for her, he does actually leave. He does actually walk away.
I mean, he sort of forces a kiss on her, but I mean, weirdly, he doesn't actually force himself on her.
Yes, which is kind of the insinuation of how that scene was going, and he kind of doesn't, thankfully. But anyway, Tom, McCoy, and Billy are approaching the venue, and Tom has the plan. He's gonna enter from the top, while McCoy goes in on the ground and heads up, right? And Billy's just gonna stay the fuck away, and he's like, "You come and pick us up at the end."
They meet a sort of a tramp on the way. And
I love this tramp. He's great.
Yeah.
He's like, "You're here to rescue that girl, aren't you?" And he's like, "How'd
Yeah.
you know that?" And he's like, "Well, why else would you be here? Like, why are you hanging around with us tramps? Like, you're clearly here to do something." So yeah, Tom basically heads up and gets in position on the roof.
Yeah.
And McCoy makes her way into the bar.
Yeah.
She runs into this biker who basically thinks he's onto something here. He's like, "Oh, I got a good thing going here with this girl," even though she's clearly not interested. But she's like, "Oh, you know, I'm here if I'm looking for a man. If someone's man enough," and he's like, "Oh, I'm man enough." Like, okay.
He's like, "Wow." He's like, "You're really stupid, aren't you? Because you're clearly
you're clearly gonna get your ass kicked."
Yeah.
But he basically is like, "Sure, let's go upstairs," and he takes her to the quote party room.
Yeah.
Which is an unfortunate name for a room. And basically just tries to get on with her. It goes as well as you would imagine. She knocks him out almost immediately. Doesn't she like pistol whip him? I think.
Yeah.
Just hits him with a pistol, right?
Yeah.
And then she basically bursts her way into the room where Raven is playing cards. Right, they're having a big card game.
Yeah.
And basically,
and I love the Raven's reactions in this movie are so good because he's sort of like unfazed by anything.
Yeah. You get like he is full on unhinged. He's psycho.
Yeah.
Like he sees things that normal people would react to, and it's just nothing.
Yeah.
Absolutely. And the only time he really shows emotion is when Ellen's involved.
Yeah.
Outside of that, doesn't care.
No.
You know, I mean, I guess like it might not just be Ellen. I feel like when Tom stands up to him, that offends him.
Well, there's a bit. Well, that's coming up, which we'll get there. But there's a very cool bit in a minute that his character does, which I really like.
Okay.
So she's now got.
She's holding them at gunpoint. Tom's watching bikers doing jumps out the front at this point, I think. But then he notices Ellen tied up, right? He looks through one of the windows and he sees Ellen's tied up.
Yeah. He basically just starts shooting.
He goes postal.
He just starts shooting bikes out from underneath people. It's like, oh no, those poor bikes. They must have fucked up a lot of bikes in this movie.
Yes.
So you've got that going on. The chaos goes. People start leaving. You know, people running around. He climbs down. Sort of goes in, gets Ellen. They sort of, they come out. McCoy, says sort of "see you later" type thing and goes out.
Yeah.
And
Billy picks up McCoy, right?
Yeah.
Because McCoy basically immediately is like, "Move the fuck over, I'm the driver." It's like, thanks for showing up, Billy. Now move over.
Yeah, and he basically says, he says, "Well, where something." I can't remember what it is. He says, where a bridge or something is. I'll meet you there.
Grand Station underpass.
Yeah, that's it. So they drive off, and he sort of stays to sort of like
to shoot
do
bikes,
a bit more damage and stuff.
Yeah.
But then Defoe comes.
Well, I think the idea is that, in all seriousness, I think the idea is that he does say earlier on, he's like, because they're like, "How are you going to deal with all the bikes?" And he's like, "Well, if you disable the bikes, it won't be a problem." So he's basically disabling the bikes, he's shooting the bikes to stop them chasing after them.
Yeah.
And
Defoe comes out, and he's actually, I think he looks happy.
He's kind of impressed that he thinks he's met a psychopath.
Yeah,
he's like, "Oh, look, someone as crazy as I am. Awesome."
Yeah, someone who likes to fuck shit up like I do. He sort of he looks impressed.
Yeah,
and sort of happy that he's almost like he has a genuine rival.
He's the Joker, and he's found his Batman.
Fucking worthy of my attention,
Yeah, he's the Joker, and he's found his Batman.
Exactly.
He's like, "Oh, good, this will be fun." And they kind of have this banter back and forth. Tom's like, he's like, "I will be coming." Raven's like, "I will be coming for you," and Tom's like, "Yeah, and I'll be waiting for you."
Yeah. gets on a bike and drives off.
Yeah. Meanwhile, at Grand Station Underpass, Billy's like, I ain't waiting any longer. You know, bikers and cops are going to show up and... Sorry?
So we'll give it 5 more minutes and we're gone.
Yeah. And I love when McCoy's like, well, you're going to be mighty disappointed because here he is. Tom just pulls up. He's like, oh. But I think McCoy lets it slip just before Tom turns up that they were in a relationship, right?
Yeah, they were hot and heavy.
Hot and heavy. And Billy's like, what? What's this all about? You know? And it's Ellen that refuses to leave, right? Mm-hmm. She's like, I'm not leaving without Tom. And that's when Billy's like, well, he's only coming because I paid him. He only rescued you because I paid him. He's not doing this out of love for you.
Yeah, she's horrified.
Yeah. But McCoy's like, bitch, he still saved your life. Like, all right, he got paid for it, but he still came. He didn't have to come. Like, yeah, everyone else was too frightened. If it wasn't for him, you would still be there, right? I mean, all right, he got paid, but, you know, cops are paid.
Some perspective.
Well, you know, the police are paid, and lots of people are paid for jobs that save lives. Firemen are paid, but you're not like, oh, you just saved me from that burning house for money, you motherfucker. Yeah. It's like, no, hold on, you saved my life.
This minute.
Yeah, put me back in that flaming building right now.
Who genuinely wants to save me?
Yeah. Just only come in and rescue me if you genuinely want to save me. But obviously they've got history, so you know she's just annoyed that you know that they didn't end on the best of terms, as we will find out very soon. But McCoy just loves the whole movie winding Billy up about Tom. Like, she loves it. So anyway, she says like
likes winding everybody up, to be honest.
Pretty much, yeah. But of course Tom shows up and says, look, we've got to go and ditch the car. And Billy's like, are you a moron? Why are you ditching this car? The car works. Like, what is wrong with you? Why would you do that? He's got no idea. He's no concept of the fact that they've been looking for the car, or that the car, you know, like everyone's going to be looking for this car, so we change cars. Billy doesn't understand that. He's like, why are you ditching this perfectly good car? But Ellen basically says, look, I want to talk to Tom alone. I need a minute. And she basically says, like, she's had a lot to say to him since he left. She's wanted to say a lot. He's basically got nothing to say to her. Yeah. And he's mad for her getting with Billy. But she's like, well, A, what the hell was I meant to do? You ran off without a word to the army. And B, you got paid to rescue me. You didn't come here to rescue me because you like me. You came to rescue me for money. And he doesn't really have much to say to that. He's just kind of quiet. He's like, you got me there.
Yeah. Not really anything I can say there.
No, he's back to rights. So he kind of leaves it at that. But they do ditch the car.
Yeah.
And they head over to the next borough, I guess. And there's a lot of people on the streets.
Yeah, this is like the red light district, isn't it?
Yeah. And I think this is where, what's her name, recognizes Ellen, right?
Baby Doll, yeah.
Baby Doll recognizes Ellen, and she's like, oh, I'm a big fan.
It's just confusing now, because my brain, every time someone says Baby Doll, I immediately think of Sucker Punch. See, I knew you were going to do that, but I love Sucker Punch.
I know you do. I know a lot of.
I
know a lot
of. I think I'm one of the few people in the world that does love Sucker Punch. But
I know a few people that love Sucker Punch. To be fair, it's fine. It's not like, oh, we could do a whole podcast on Sucker Punch at some point.
Oh,
it's not that. I think it's fine. The thing I don't like about it is how pretentious it is. It seems to think it's high art, or it's pretending like it's high art when it's clearly not. That's what I think annoys me. If it just accepted that it's a video game with tits,
I think
fine.
There's another cut of the movie that would make it a little less pretentious seeming.
Okay. Because that's the thing. I'm like, that's what I like about this movie, actually. That brings it back to this movie. This film knows exactly what it is. And it's happy just being what it is. And I think that's why this movie really succeeds.
Well, I mean, it didn't.
No. But it succeeds as a film for me,
yeah.
as a reviewer. It succeeds. I'm not. Yeah, it was a commercial flop. It did not succeed. Although it has become a cult classic over time. I think
it has. Yeah. I mean, it's one of those sort of movies that we've covered many times that just did nothing when it came out and has gone on to have a cult thing because I think it's a genuinely good fucking movie.
I agree.
I mean, it tanked Diane Lane's career for a couple of years.
Yeah,
and it's certainly, I think Michael Perry probably would have been a bigger star if.
Well, this was going to be a trilogy originally, right?
Yeah, it was. Yeah.
So this could have, this could have been his vehicle, really.
Have you seen the unofficial sequel?
No.
Road to Hell.
No. Is it terrible?
Oh, it's fucking awful.
But it's not. Is it what they were planning though, or is it just a?
I don't think so. From what I can gather, it was directed by the guy who did like Sword and the Sorcerer and Cyborg, stuff like that.
Oh God, is it a canon film?
It's not a canon film because it's made up way after Cannon died, I think.
Oh yeah, well, I suppose 83. When was it made?
Yeah, 2000 something.
Oh Jesus! Okay, sorry. I thought this was like made in the 88 or something. A couple of years.
No. It was. Hang on, let me just look it up.
That's like when they
2008.
That's never going to be good.
And it was directed by Albert. I think that you pronounce that Fyun. Pyun. Fun.
Fun. Right.
So yeah, he previously directed Cyborg and Sword and the Sorcerer, that Captain America movie.
Oh, the Red Brown Captain America movie.
Sorry?
The Red Brown Captain America movie.
The 1991.
Yeah, the motorbike helmet plastic shield one. Red Brown. Yes. Yeah, great.
And Nemesis. So apparently him and his wife after watching the movie, he said, he would have gone on and done great things, blah, 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 blah. And his wife was like, no, it's a tragic ending because he probably would have ended up being shit. Or, it would have been awful. So they basically, I think they met at Michael Perry at some sort of festival. And they discussed it and they come up with this movie. Basically, it starts off with the angel Gabriel saying, we're in purgatory. So you get the whole, it's another time, another place. It's like, again, sort of thing. And they're in like purgatory, and he's like a psycho killer. And
this already sounds terrible.
Yeah, it's like he's a psycho killer, and he bumps into two other psycho killers. One of them played by the girl who played Glory in Buffy.
Yeah.
I mean, you did get to see her boobs, which was nice. But
that's the only good thing in this film, is it?
Yeah. And then Gabriel says something about, she's there for their souls, and there's this weird thing about, the devil's coming to get him, some blah blah blah, and maybe this woman is the devil or something. Or then she says, "Oh no, these are like another soul in heaven." It's so weird, and everything is green screened. All of the backgrounds are all like it's almost all desert.
Oh God!
And it's mostly close-ups of their faces. There's music in it. There's like they use some of the music from this, and there's this weird sort of interview going on with his sister's in it as well. So she's has these like weird interviews where she's talking about Cody and how he's changed now, and he's a much harder thing because he's just been in perpetual war for all these years and stuff, and it's like, okay. And then it turns out that there's a daughter called Ellen Dream, who she's now a singer, and she's just doing this concert and stuff. And Cody's trying to get to her, and you sort of find out that Ellen was murdered by Billy Fish.
What?
Right? Yeah. So Billy Fish got jealous of her, so he set her up, and Raven killed her.
This sounds absolutely terrible.
Yeah. But one of the worst parts is he turns up at this concert and talks to his daughter, and she's like, "Oh, I don't know you, but I know who you are," or blah blah blah. And then at the end, he's like, he says, "Oh, I'm going to get revenge on Billy Fish and Raven," right? And then it ends with not with him doing that. It comes up on the screen. Oh, Cody got his revenge on Billy Fish, but he found out that Raven had already been murdered by his daughter, who was Glory from earlier on. And you're like, wow, this movie is fucking terrible. And it just ends with them like, oh, and he's now like been forgiven. They couldn't prove that he was this murderer, and he's now like his daughter's roadie. I was like, what the fuck have I just watched? It's awful. It's so bad. I highly recommend no one touches it with fucking fire.
I highly recommend you don't watch it.
Yeah.
Wow, I had no idea that existed. It sounds absolutely terrible.
Oh, it is. It's so. Oh, it is literally just them sort of walking around in a desert that's not actually. I mean, they're obviously not fucking there. It's all green screened, and it's just really weird and sort of hypersexualized and just icky.
It sounds just dreadful.
It really is. I mean, there's a sort of a weird subplot where these two girls they've murdered a load of people in this town, and they're driving through this desert, and the radio announcer keeps giving you updates on, oh, we found out that it's them now, and they've also got a 2-year-old. They've stolen a 2-year-old girl, and there's this box in the back of their Jeep that just has this 2-year-old girl in it.
How desperate was Michael Parr at this point to do this?
I don't know.
I feel like he was above this, even in 2008. You know?
Yeah, I think it suggests that the kid is her daughter, and she killed the people because they took her away from her or something. But it's Jesus! Actually,
to be honest, after Road to Hell, he went on to do Alone in the Dark 2 and Far Cry.
Okay,
maybe it was a bad time.
Yeah.
Maybe he was just a bit desperate at the time. Oh, he also did Blood Rain before that and Postal. Yeah, it wasn't a good time. Okay, fair enough.
Cody's character in this literally murders people and carves Ellen's name on them.
Jesus Christ.
He even cuts one of the women's heads off. It's like...
It sounds terrible. I almost want to watch it now. It sounds so bad.
I mean, if you're curious, it's on YouTube.
I was going to say I'm not paying for it, obviously.
No, it's on YouTube if you're curious.
Well, I might have a quick scroll through it later.
It might,
it's not going to colour my opinion of this. It's not going to be a Star Wars situation. It'll be fine.
That was one of the only things. When I was halfway through it, I thought, is this going to fuck up my opinion of the original? And it's like, no, because it's not even an official. It's not even like remotely close either. It's like fan fiction. It's fucking awful.
It reads like a fan. It reads like something you'd read on a fan fiction website.
It's basically like they took the worst attributes of Cody's character and just went, yeah, now he's a psycho killer. It's fine. Mm-hmm. That's the natural projection of his character. Progression of his character is that he's going to be a psycho killer. Like, okay, fine.
Well,
it's really bad.
It sounds terrible.
But yeah, it doesn't remotely colour my view on this movie at all, thankfully.
That's good. Anyway, meanwhile, there's a band called the Sorels, and they're on their tour bus, and they are about to have the worst fucking day of their lives. They are just minding their own business. When Tom steps out in front of the bus and stops them, and is like, "Hey, we need to get back to Richmond," and the driver, who is also one of the band members, is like, "Dude, we're on tour, we're not taking you anywhere." Yeah. Tom basically holds them up. He shows him his gun, and he's like, "No, we're getting on the bus." They're like, "Oh."
He's like, "What do you think? We're not just trying you anywhere." And then he like pulls up the gun, and he's like, "But we're very flexible on this. You can, come on in."
So they hijack these innocent people on the bus and basically tell them to head to Richmond. We get to this point on the bus where everyone's kind of talking and things are okay. People are coexisting.
Yeah. I mean, they recognise Ellen and they're like, "Hey, we're a band. We just can't seem to make it. Can you help us?" sort of thing.
Yeah. Yeah. We'll see if she does. She might do by the end of the movie.
Billy Fish is like, no way.
Well, Billy Fish hasn't heard them yet.
2-bit, outfit. No, thank you.
Well, he hasn't heard them yet. He might change
And
his
Baby
mind.
Doll's with them as well, which is weird. Like they've suddenly acquired.
She's just there. She's part of the gang.
I do find one of the things that just amuses me is that they've managed to find an actress smaller than McCoy. She's like there's McCoy is like tiny, walking around like she's roughly the same height as Billy, isn't she?
Yeah.
And then you've got a Baby Doll who's like tiny, even more tiny, coming like following them around. It's brilliant. It's just one of those little things that amuses the hell out of me.
But anyway, they start getting on, and things seem to be going reasonably well until they reach a roadblock. The police have blocked the road, and Billy is like, "Don't worry, I'll just bribe our way out of this. It's fine. I've got money."
And you get they're wearing different so this is obviously the Battery's coppers, isn't it?
Yeah,
because they've got different uniforms on to the coppers from.
Yes, and they're clearly, like as I said, this is my confusion, is they're clearly entirely independent, to where, what happens in one borough does not go any further than that borough, and everything's fine. And if you go to the next borough, it's fine. But again, that's the reality of this world. That's cool. It's fine.
But I also think, historically, in certainly like in older times, I know the until the sort of FBI started using profiling stuff and things like that, I know police departments didn't interact with each other. They didn't help each other out. So serial killers, just went from place to place, and
yes, but I mean,
investigated in their state.
There is serial killers, and then there is someone just shotgunned every single police car in the next borough.
Yeah, that's true.
It just feels like there might have been a mention of it. But anyway, it doesn't matter, because like I said, it's this world, and that's how this world works. The boroughs are separate, clearly, and the cops here are completely bent, crooked. They come on the bus, and of course Billy, being the idiot he is, instead of being like, how much will it take for us to get through, he starts getting the money out, and he starts counting, and of course he gives it to him, but he's still got this massive wad, and the cop's like, yeah, keep going.
Yeah.
Like, I can see you've got a wad of cash. So, of course, he tries to talk his way out of it. He tries to make it work, but he's getting nowhere with these cops.
The cops are like, hey, there's...
They take the money, and then they're like, but anyway.
A band of black guys and a rich dude.
Yeah, they're horrendously racist, it turns out, as well.
Racist. And he's like, why are they so eager to pay us off, sort of thing?
Yes, yeah. So Tom's like, well,
appears with his gun.
Yeah, Tom's like, well, this shotgun should bring an end to this situation. And he holds him at gunpoint. He's like, right, walk normally. They walk outside, and then McCoy pulls a gun as well, and they hold up the cops. McCoy kind of trains her gun on the cops and says, don't move, whilst Billy shoots all of their cars up so they can't drive away. These shotguns are like explosive rounds or something, because like everything they touch explodes.
Breath rounds in it. And I love McCoy's there disarming them as they're all let out.
Yeah.
And I love that she's like, some of you have got really nice asses. It would be a shame to get them shot off.
Yeah. I love her in this. She's so good.
Yeah, she's fucking awesome.
But yeah, anyway, they all get back on the bus with the most of the police at least knackered, and they drive off. But of course, Tom sensibly is like, well, every policeman in this entire area now knows that people on a bus shot up all of the cars. We need to ditch this bus. And Billy again still doesn't understand.
No. Oh, we did forget that they get a flatty as well.
Oh, that's true. Sorry, yes, they do get a flat tire as well. Yeah.
Yeah, so they get the scene where McCoy's they're all basically watching McCoy change the big tire. Like, no one's helping her. She's just changing the tire. Like, but she's for fuck's sake.
Yeah. I mean, lucky for them, she's very capable. But you could at least assist. I know sod all about cars, but I've been in situations with flat tires before, and I offer at least. I'm like, look,
Yeah.
I'm useless, but if I can do something, I can lift things. And
It's one of the few it's one of the few manly things I've done. I've changed a tire on a car.
I have
so
not
do-
changed a tire. I have assisted in changing a tire. I'm like, you tell me what to do. I can follow basic instructions.
Yeah.
So, if I can help.
To like rewire a house or something or fix plumbing, I can't do that shit.
But anyway, they're going to do a Warriors. So they all get on the train and catch a train, which might have been an idea from the start.
Yep.
But anyway, they get back to Richmond and immediately go to the police station.
And I do feel sorry for the band. The guy's like,
oh, the band are on this train. Like, we've lost everything.
Life is on that bus.
Our life.
We didn't get our clothes.
Even the sheet music. They're like, even our music, our instruments, our music, like everything we were is gone.
On that bus, yeah.
I mean, I guess they've ditched it, so maybe. But it's like in the area they were in, I feel like that bus is going to be empty, and on fire by the time you get to
the bus. I was going to say it'd be stripped parts on fire, and all of the stuff would have been long gone.
Escape from New York. So they get back to Richmond. They head to the police station, and everyone is like, the whole of the city is like, oh my god, it's Ellen, she's back, and everyone's really happy and cheering, and it's all good. And the cops are like, well, fair enough, we'll take it from here. And Tom's like, well, I hope you can, because it ain't over yet. And anyway, Ellen says, like,
he tells him to get out, doesn't he? He says, you gotta leave now. So
yeah.
We'll take it from here.
Well, and Ellen's like, I'm gonna leave town. I hate this place. Billy's like, obviously loving every second of this. She's like, I hate this town. I want to leave. And she's like, I hate Tom. I hate you for taking the money.
Yeah.
And basically the police chief is like, look, Tom, I think you should leave because if you're not here, then Raven won't come.
Yeah.
Even though I don't think that logic works because Raven's going to come for Ellen.
Yeah.
So I guess his logic is, well, if Ellen's gone as well, the problem's moved on.
Yeah. Well, I suppose so. But then he's not really factoring in the fact that Raven's clearly a fucking nutter.
Yeah. So I was going to say, I mean, Raven will probably screw the place up anyway.
Yeah.
Fully aware that other people were involved in the rescue of Ellen, he will probably just shoot up the whole of Richmond just to get his revenge, Yeah. But anyway, yeah, because the bomber's second in command shows up outside and he's revving his bike and whatever, and they obviously know. So
I'll just basically call him the sheriff because that's what he is. The sheriff
he is the sheriff, yeah.
Sheriff goes over and talks to him, and you don't hear what's said. You just sort of see them in the background talking, and then he comes over and says, Raven's just going to come here
by himself. There won't be anyone else, I'm sure. Yeah.
Just you and him, and you're going to duke it out, sort of thing. He says, but I want you gone. I'll sort it myself. Move on.
Yeah.
And everything will be fine.
Yeah. So Tom goes to the hotel and he visits Ellen and Billy. And Ellen kind of doesn't want to talk to him. She's like, I'm not interested. You were only here because of the money. And so Tom basically takes $1,000 out of the 10,000. He's like, that's what I owed McCoy.
Yeah.
Gives the rest of the money back. He's like, keep it. Don't care.
And he sort of obviously had a bit of a fight, a thing with a bit of a, not a fight exactly, but with McCoy, and I think she's. Yeah,
McCoy. I think McCoy's annoyed because Billy's not. Tom's not really standing up for himself with Ellen. I think that's kind of a frustration.
And she's got off to the bar, hasn't she?
Yeah, she's gone to the bar. So he's basically gone to get her money, not his money.
Yeah.
So he gives the rest back and leaves. And Ellen basically chases after him and just leaves Billy in the hotel room.
Yeah.
She runs after him, kisses him, and they immediately have sex.
Yeah. But of course.
Of course. And when I say they immediately have sex, I mean they either it was the sweatiest sex ever, or they immediately have sex because it's raining outside and her hair is still wet post-sex.
I forgot that was one of the other things. You know, when I said that the director said about all the things that he thought were cool, one of the things I forgot was kissing in the rain. That was the other one. So he clearly wanted that.
He ticked that
whole
box.
scene for like kissing in the rain.
Sure, fair enough.
Hey, if it works for Mary Jane and Spider-Man.
Yeah. That's that is that. Tom then, I guess, leaves her and goes back to the bar. And McCoy is off with him at first, but he gives her money and he says, you know, you did great, to be honest. Like, he's like, you know, you held your own. You're really, really great. He basically says, hey, why don't you come with me and Ellen? Because Ellen's basically said, I'll leave with you. She's like, if we leave, we can just go. We'll just leave and there's no problem. So Ellen's willing to leave with Tom. Tom is now offering that to McCoy and basically says, hey, why don't you leave with us? And she basically agrees. But they board the train, but the train stops, right?
Mm-hmm.
And Tom goes to leave, but Ellen says, hey, look, this isn't our stop yet. But of course, Tom then knocks her out. Yeah. And he tells McCoy, look, you take Ellen, get out of town. I'm going back to Richmond.
Again, that's such a Western thing to do, isn't it?
Properly.
Like, knock the girl out to put her to safety. It's like, poor Ellen.
Yeah. So he plans to go back to Richmond, but the train is out of order, right? The train going the other direction is out of order.
The bombers have basically blocked all the roads and all the train lights.
But they did it too late, so he's left. Like, because presumably they did that to stop him leaving, but he's already gone. It's like, I'm trying to get back in now. I can't get in. But Raven arrives with only 2 henchmen. And the police chief is there, and he says, look, you know, they're gone, and you're under arrest. You know, that's that. You're on your own with your 2 goons. Think we can take you, me and my cops. But then, of course, Raven blows his horn, and like 1 million bikers turn up with guns.
That was 2 LA biker gangs as well.
Oh, was it? Nice.
Yeah.
They look genuine.
Yeah.
So Bill Paxton runs away, and you're like, oh my god, what a coward. And then Tom arrives a bit late, and I love the police chief's like, well, my idea went to shit, so we might as well try yours.
Yeah, he's great. That
He's awesome.
Is it Richard Lawson?
I think so.
Yeah, Richard Lawson. I love it when he says, well, that line, my idea went to shit.
He's like, my idea went to shit, let's see if you do any better. And then he says something like, just go kick his ass or something. He's like,
yeah,
okay.
Fucking brilliant.
I
mean, Raven's overjoyed that he's turned up. He's, you know, they've got something special planned.
Well, Bill Paxton brings back the whole city of people. So the city folk now come out with guns. Everyone's got guns on either side, but they're going to have a one-on-one fight for some reason with pickaxes.
Yeah, I think they're stone hammers, I think.
I'm not sure what they are.
It says they're sledgehammers, but
they're not sledgehammers. They look like either pickaxes or something.
Yeah, I think they're stone hammers. They're really fucking cool, actually.
They're really cool, but who think... I mean, he's clearly a psychopath, I get that, but it's an odd choice of weapon.
Yeah, I think it's
things like knives or even a sword or axes, but to bring like a pickaxe or a stone...
I guess it's because he's like a blunt object, isn't he?
I guess, yeah. I guess. It is a very brutal thing to bring to a fight.
Yeah.
It's nice of him to bring 2. It is going to be a fair competition.
Yeah.
So
be a proper duel.
This fight is awesome.
Oh yeah.
They start off with the pickaxes.
Like 4 weeks to film.
I'm not surprised because there's a lot of moving parts and there's a lot of people.
I think it was 2 weeks with Defoe and Perret and 2 weeks with the stuntmen.
Right. Well, I love it.
Yeah, it's fucking amazing.
like I said earlier, I love that the crowd are going mental the entire time, but it's completely silent. We never hear the crowd. We see them screaming and shouting, but they never make a noise. All we hear is Raven and Tom as they fight. They fight with pickaxes or whatever they are, stone axes, I don't know, whatever. They fight with those. Tom probably would have died or been horribly injured by some of the blows he gets with these things, but fine, whatever.
Yeah. No, I mean, he gets a pretty good crack on the arm, doesn't he?
He does, and the ribs, and
you just sort of think, that arm's not working.
No, and those ribs are broken, and yeah. But anyway, Tom does beat Raven with the axe, but then being he disarms him. But then being and there is a moment of fear in Raven's eyes when he realizes he's done for, because obviously, Tom's still got the axe, and but of course Tom is doing the Western thing again. It's like, I disarmed you, but now I'm going to throw my pistols down in the sand and we're going to duke it out like men. He of course throws the pickaxe, and Raven immediately spears him and starts punching him. And Raven's clearly a bit of a better hand-to-hand fighter.
Well, I think it's because he's just more brutal, isn't he?
And he caught him off guard, I guess, as well. But of course Tom eventually puts Raven down. It's a really good fist fight. There are very few what I would call very good fist fights in movies, like really well directed fist fights. And this works. This really works.
And again, like I said earlier on, it's such an enormous contrast from the beginning, the opening rumble sort of thing, where it's all sort of weird, like stage combat, over the top stage combat, and and I mean, you do get the noises of the punching and stuff is really over the top.
It's the 80s,
even in this fight.
It's the 80s.
But it's a massive contrast.
Look at the Rocky movies from the 80s. It's ludicrous.
Boom, boom.
It's like they're getting hit with shotgun blast every time there's a punch, But it's awesome. It's cinematic, and it's great. The city folk end up all pointing their guns at the bombers, and the bombers, despite the police officer saying he was going to arrest Raven, the bombers pick him up and take him away. And like, there's a version of this film where the next day Tom's gone and the bombers come back and just murder everyone in this fucking town. but I guess the idea is that the city folk have shown that they're going to stand up to the bombers, so they're going to stay away.
The original ending was that Cody knifes him. He was going to stab him, kill Raven.
Right.
But they want. I think the director didn't want killing. He didn't want blood. He didn't want any of that sort of stuff. So he wanted a more of a sort of, I guess, a sort of old-fashioned Western,
a bit more pulpy, and
comic,
a bit more,
So he didn't want that. So they changed. They rewrote the ending so that it he just knocks him out, sort of thing, and they get on there. And I think I think the director said afterwards that might have hindered it, because he said movies that he thinks were influenced by this movie, things like he says Seven, and what was the other one he said? I can't remember what the other one he said was now, but it's Seven and something else. And he says they feel like both those movies feel like they're not in real places. Like the city in Seven has that feel that it's not really a city. It's
a weird place. Yeah,
it's like constantly raining and stuff. And he thinks that these other movies were more successful, maybe because there was a lot more gore and stuff in them. And he thinks if they would have turned up the gore in this movie, it would have been more successful.
It feels like, it kind of feels like it almost needs that cliche ending of Tom puts him down, starts walking away, Raven comes towards him and gets shot, or like an official end to that, because you do feel like Raven's crazy, and you've just let a crazy guy and his gang go away to lick their wounds and come back when you're not going to be here anymore, because Tom's leaving. So
absolutely. Oh, RoboCop was the other one.
Okay, yeah.
He thinks it sort of influenced those movies in the way that they did things. I mean, RoboCop and Seven, RoboCop's quite gory. Seven, not
RoboCop is quite gory. Would be an understatement for
Yeah.
RoboCop.
And Seven's got.
But I do think
suggestive than gory.
Yeah, Seven's very dark in its suggestion. RoboCop is cartoonish in its gore,
Yes.
to where it's kind of silly, intentionally, obviously.
I mean, I sort of feel one of the other reasons I feel sorry for it when it was released is it was released basically the same week as Star Trek 3.
Right.
So it's like that's bad competition.
Yeah, I would have seen Star Trek 3 if there was a choice in cinema viewing.
Yeah,
no doubt. After Wrath of Khan, I was definitely going to watch Star Trek 3.
Yeah, the other one was Brewster's Millions, I think was it. Oh no, he ends up making that one. So it made, I think it was 2 million. I think it did, and that was it. I think.
Yeah. Well, Ellen's having her concert. The Sorrells are there. I guess they out the fucking Sorrells for almost ruining their entire lives.
Yeah, they now own nothing.
Well, now Billy owns them, I think, because Billy's like, hey, we're going to make a fortune out of these guys. We're just going to exploit these guys now. It's like, hey, we crushed them by destroying everything they own. And now I own them. Brilliant. So they're performing in front of a packed crowd. And we get Tom and Billy talking backstage. And Billy basically says, look, I'm not going to get in the way. She clearly loves you, Tom. And Tom's like, yeah, but, you're better for her. And it's like, she has no choice in this, apparently. It's just like, okay, sure. Yeah. He's like, no, she can stay with you. Oh, no, you have her. Like,
you take her. Yeah.
What, does she have a voice? But in any case, he says, no, she needs you. You're better for her than I am. And Billy's like, well, isn't she going to be upset? And he's like, she's used to me letting her down. It'll be fine. Don't worry about it. Yeah. He finds her, and she knows. She already is like, okay, you're leaving. You've got that you're leaving face on. But he says, look, if you ever need me, you can find me. You know where to find me. And they share a kiss. And then he leaves. Ellen goes on to perform. Obviously, the Sorrells were performing during this, I think, and then Ellen's, having her gig now. Tom watches for a bit, and then leaves toward the end of the first song or so, and immediately runs into McCoy, who has stolen the car that he stole. So now it's her car.
Somebody just left it in the street.
Yeah, she's like, oh, somebody just left this in the street, so I picked it up. It's like, my car now. And Tom, I love the dynamic between these two, because Tom's now like, oh, can I have a ride? Is that all right?
Yeah.
And he's like, can I come with you? And she's like, sure. And he's like, oh, this could be my big moment. And she's like, this could be my big chance. And she's like, I've already told you, I'm not interested.
Yeah.
So he gets in, chucks his bags in, and they ride off into the sequel that never happens.
Yeah.
I loved this movie. It's really good fun.
It's a great movie. It's real fun. And I'm sure, like you said about many of these movies, it's not going to be for everybody.
No,
because it is over the top, and like there are parts that are literally just rock videos.
Yes, I mean, yeah. I mean, that's why I think it tips it into musical territory, because when there's a song, there's the whole song.
Yeah.
Like, you watch the entire song. It's not like, oh, there's a clip of someone singing on stage and then it cuts away. It's like, no, they're probably going to perform the entire song and you're going to watch the whole song.
Yeah.
And obviously things happen, it cuts away or whatever, but you get the entire length of the song rather than just a portion of the song and then it cuts to the next scene.
Yeah. And I think that the planned sequels, I think, were the Far City and Cody's Return. I think were the names of were going to be the names of the sequels.
It's a shame. I'm curious. I wonder if there's any information online about what those films would have been.
I'd love to have seen those. I'd have been happy just to watch Cody and McCoy.
Yeah, like a road movie with Cody and McCoy.
The other characters. Certainly in the second one, I would say, you just have them like on a road trip, or like a road movie.
Maybe that was the intention. If the third one's called The Return of McCoy,
yeah,
I don't know. Who knows? But a great movie anyway. I really enjoyed rewatching this one.
It's a shame. I mean, 'cause it certainly damaged them. Damaged sort of everybody involved for a while.
Yeah, I feel like Defoe did all right, but everyone else.
Yes, that's
certainly,
true. So probably came out of this best.
Well, and Rick Morales did pretty well.
Yeah.
Because he just obviously, I guess, doing Ghostbusters in the same year probably helped.
Yeah,
that
would have most certainly helped.
I think everyone probably forgot this movie. It's like when you think of Rick Morales, there's probably this year and Rick Morales, this film probably doesn't come into your brain. So, but yes,
but it's a fun over the top movie that I would recommend people just give a go.
I watched it last night and I just had an absolute blast. Just I had a smile the whole time I was watching it. It's great fun.
Yeah, so, the music is so good.
The music is superb.
You've got two Steinman tunes. You've got a Stevie Nicks tune in it. You've got these other sort of tunes, and I think like "I Can Dream About You" was a massive success. I think most people didn't know that it was on the soundtrack to this movie. It just became a success on its own. But it's got real sort of a massively cool soundtrack, and it's a heavy part of this movie. It's not your sort of standard. It's not a musical in this. It's a sort of the Grease sort of way. It's one of those sort of how would you explain it? It's not like a jukebox musical, but it's a musical in that the music is part of the band and all that sort of stuff. It's just great.
Yes,
fun.
Yeah,
just great fun.
It is. Yeah, I think that sums the movie up. It's just really fun. It knows what it is, and it's very good at just being fun. So yeah, I think Walter Hill succeeded. He succeeded in making a pulpy comic booky movie.
Yeah,
some of the transitions are very comic booky as well, as I think you said earlier on.
Yeah, the sort of the swooping sort of transitions are great. I love that stuff. And like I said, when I first watched it, we were obsessed with this movie for a while. It was like the cool. I loved Cody. There was McCoy is a great character. Diane Lane is fucking knockout gorgeous. For us, everything was right at that time. And like I said, it's just a shame it didn't take off.
Yeah.
Until much later.
Yeah, it got there in the end. Cult status.
Yeah. And like I said, fucking avoids the unofficial sequel. It's fucking awful.
I'm really tempted.
Unless you're really curious.
I will probably skip through the YouTube video later on.
Oh, it's
just out of pure morbid curiosity.
Yeah.
But in any case, that was Streets of Fire, and we will be back next week with our usual review stuff. But until then, stay safe, take care, and we'll catch you next time.